Greg, some wins feel differently than others, and this one feels bigger because of the adversity that you guys had to overcome against a good opponent. Obviously, Tyreek's injury right at the end of regulation was unfortunate, but this one has to feel good for your players and for you because you guys had a lot to overcome today.
Oh, we did. It's about overcoming adversity, and we always say when you're on the road, especially against a good team like this, you're going to have to win by 10 or more. And shoot, we had 20 turnovers. We had 20 turnovers and still win that game, and just what a job by our guys without Tyreek in overtime. Cooper really stepping up, JB with his leadership, and I think they were 1 for 9 in the overtime, so we really got the defense going. But what an effort, again, against a very, very good team.
I thought one of the big keys in overtime that may not show up in the stats so much is the interior defense of Trey Williams and Jake LaRavia. Trey in particular, he had 2 blocks and had at least 1 altered shot. You could tell Wright State was trying to, they didn't want to take the ball inside against them.
We went at their interior guys with Trey and inside where we felt like we had an advantage, and they got such good 3-point shooters that you're taking that away. Sometimes you're going to give up drives, but our guys really, we call it Superman, going up and not fouling and either blocking the shot or making them score over you. So yeah, those 2 freshmen now, Trey or with all his family back here, and then Jake, those guys were really good.
As far as the offense is concerned, this is kind of what you want. You had a cycle of guys who contributed, periodically through the game. JB was hot in the first half. Coop was hot in the second half. And then you got Trey sprinkled in there with a couple buckets. Is this kind of a good example of what you want from this team offensively?
And I think we've had a couple games when we've talked afterwards that that's what we envisioned going into it. We have many guys that can score, and you lose a Tyreek, and he wasn't scoring as much anyway. But Coop, we can score. JB, we can score. We want to be able to get paint touches and get baskets in there. We have a lot of guys that can do different things, which makes us a difficult guard, and the depth showed tonight.
Coop hit a lot of shots, even in regulation, that were kind of survival mode type shots, like run-stopping type of shots, on the part of Wright State. He had one in overtime. He had a couple in regulation. He's never lacked confidence, but he seems to be more confident, even more so than he was, in terms of sticking those types of shots.
He is, and he's taken me getting on him and saying different things better than what it was last year. Shoot, he's a sophomore. He's a sophomore, but he can really score it. And one thing with him and JB and Tyreek, I really think has been a difference here lately is just how much they're buying in defensively. And taking that personally, guarding, taking our pride in that, finishing possessions. Because at the other end, Coop was terrific, and that's what you got to have. You got to get a stop, and if you really need a basket, you got to have a guy that's got the toughness to go up and get you a big one. And we didn't go to the free throw line hardly at all and had 20 turnovers and still scored like that.
As far as the call that was initially called a charge on Tyreek and then was called a block, was he deemed to be in the circle?
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, he was deemed to be in the circle, and he's got a heck of a gash. I don't know if he's got a concussion too, but he's in a lot of pain in there, and the doctors are stitching him up, so hopefully he's okay. I told him that his guys picked him up, and he got a smile on his face on that.
Was it under his eye, or was it his nose? On top of his eye?
Yeah, it's pretty good UFC-looking gash.
To start the game with a 9-point deficit early, to come back, Todd mentioned the emotions of the end of the regulation, to just pull out a win the way you guys did, to know you said you had a tough group all year, even through the first 4 games, to really have that really show on display today.
Still working on our identity. I think they know what they want it to be. We want to have some toughness. We want to be together, and we certainly needed to do that tonight, and we did, to be able to beat a really good opponent on their floor and with some adversity. And I think we're still finding it. I think we're still searching. Like I told Fritzy on the radio, we've really had 6 or 7 straight good practices, and the basketball gods will reward that. You can't just come out in game time and flip the switch and it happen. You're going to practice like you play the majority of the time, and they've been good.
And the importance of knowing what you guys talk about in the locker room before the game, to see that translate over, because you've said even at times this year where maybe things seem like it was about to but didn't.
Yeah.
It seemed like everything Coach Carey ran through before the game is exactly what your guys did.
You spend a lot of time around Coach Mallory and Coach Hannes, and you have to dominate details against similar opponents like what we played today. You know, the talent level pretty even. That's the team that's going to make the fewest mistakes, and it's whether in scouting report, you know, knowing exactly what the guy you're guarding is doing and what our plan is, what their plan is, and the guys they've been doing a terrific job with it.
Greg, you go into exam week and about a 10-day break with a really emphatic, you know, kind of uplifting type of win. How important is that? I mean, it's only as important as your next game, but this is a long period of time to kind of let the positive of this settle in. What does that mean to this
No
team?
doubt. The guys need to enjoy this, and we got finals. You know, it's academic first at Indiana State across the board with our athletic department. So these guys have been doing a great job. We're all in good shape. We just got to finish off here strong. But it'd have been tough to lose. Now I'd have still felt pretty decent because of our effort and how hard we fought. But to have a win going into this long a break, have some juice in the guys. You shorten up your practices. You have a long time without a game, but we're going to keep getting better.
With the break, will you be able to find your razor with the 10 days off?
Well, I didn't shave, and we played pretty well and beat North Dakota State. I don't know what's going to come here next. I don't think I can keep it for 10 days, but I might have to.